Hello everyone, welcome to our special panel for World Usability Day 2025 here in China. World Usability Day is about one simple idea. Design isn't about technology, it's about people. Today we have the unique feeling we have the three amazing experts join me to this panel. Dr. Selker, the MIT Media Lab scientist and pioneer of intelligent interface. Danielle Cooley, founder of DG Cooley, and Dr. Marcelo, professor from Brazil and expert for ergonomics. I'm Fang Ding, the World Usability Day China representative, and I'm happy to connect the global insight with local practice. All for us from the different corner of the world and have somehow ended up together in Shanghai, China, testing our usability assumptions across the different culture. So let's jump in. With AI, wearable computing and some rapidly, how do you see technique and UX principles adapting? How do environments shaping user behavior?
Well, of course, any tool we have shapes our behavior. And these tools really give us more knowledge access than we've ever had. But more than that, they allow us to explore the perspectives and alternatives that are possible that we wouldn't have been able to explore so much quicker and more deeply than ever before. And also to translate the questions we have and the ways we want to look into whatever we need them to be. So we have really a revolution that is maybe as profound as any technical revolution ever. Maybe the book that invented here is of the caliber of this AI revolution that is changing what we can do, even as usability experts.
Sounds good. So,
Well, we are living in a world that is changing the world that we interact. We interact in different ways nowadays. We interact in gesture, we interact in form, we interact in behavior, we interact in scenes, we interact with robots, we interact with humans, but above all, have always a human behind it. Even if you don't have interaction between man versus machine versus machine, but have man versus machine. And if you think about interaction, you think about ergonomics, you think about usability, you think about design, and you think about opportunities for research, opportunities for investigating, and opportunities of how this new way of interaction require a way that can be comfortable, way that can be safety, and you can in the way that you interacted in the very well, very good way. That's it.
Marcelo, in your experience for the different culture and countries, what are the most surprising differences in the user behavior, and how should designers approach these differences when they creating the different experience, like the inclusive experience?
We can talk about different cultures, but we can talk about people inside the same culture. Because you can have disabled people, you can have, even in the same culture, you have different way of perspective. And you must to see how people make the interaction, how people do it in terms of the able body, the disabled people, the people that can do one thing the way people can do a thing the other way, large. I worked in China for 6 years. I'm from Brazil, and I live in the US, I live in England. Different culture, different people, different way that you can interact with product and system. But behind of all, we are humans. So we must design for human, must prepare all this equipment to be used for the human beings, independent of culture, independent of ability or disability. So try to incorporate everybody in the same design. It's a hard task, very hard task, but it's not impossible. And it's impossible to content everyone, to adapt everyone to the same design, but you can adapt most of the people. It's possible to adapt the design that can contemplate Stephen Hawking and can contemplate a single person, but you can contemplate the most of the people as possible.
Thank you, that's the valuable experience. So Daniel, in the healthcare industry experience, the usability can have the real life consequences. So how do you think about that?
Well, it's certainly, to your point, a place where we have to pay a lot more attention to doing things the right way and getting them right in the end. If an e-commerce website is difficult to use, then maybe someone buys a belt in the wrong color, right? If a healthcare system or a medical device is difficult to use, someone might die. So there are a lot of safeguards in place. Regulatory agencies set up different procedures to help ensure that products are easy to use and safe and intuitive, but it really is the process of developing those products that has the most effect on their safety and efficacy.
That's good. So how are you using the AI in design and research today?
Well, if you think about the problems that we're talking about, what's special is this question, for example, of what has to be taken into account to make a safe product. With AI, we have access to all of the knowledge that has been digitized. And when we ask a question, we can be pretty inclusive in its response, maybe too inclusive. We can also ask it to prioritize. That, of course, makes it questionable whether we are getting exactly the same prioritization we need. But what is possible is to say, if we want to make something for disabilities or for medical that covers most of the situations, please tell me what situations it does not cover. It will also answer that kind of a question. And it becomes very exciting because we can get to much farther, deeper exploration of knowledge that exists with these than ever before. Now, the fact is, though, that for specialized knowledge, we probably have to add that to the machine learning system too. And in fact, we also have to be careful to understand where is it getting the knowledge from that is answering us. So there's a lot of nuance in how to use the AI, even though the opportunities that it's providing are profound.
I do not use AI quite a bit in my practical research because it's still not yet a substitute for real life with real people, right? If I have to fact check everything that comes out of it, then it doesn't save me time or increase the validity of my research.
So I found it interesting that is true, absolutely, that you have to fact check and you have to use it as a counterbalance, and maybe it's a source of knowledge, and maybe a source of putting together things you tell it. But I did notice that you used AI to make your presentation.
So I have found AI to be effective when there's no single correct answer. So if I'm creating an image, I did recently of a sloth in a bathrobe at a sunset, right? And there were many, many different versions of a sloth and a bathrobe and a sunset that would have been appropriate for the use that I was doing. I used it to write a sea shanty about a kitchen stove. Again, there are many different results that were acceptable for that use case. For identifying a user persona or a user profile, those are singular things that are true about a group of people, right? And the way they think and behave. I can't just sort of accept any of a number of responses that come through. So that's a fair point. I do find it to be particularly effective if there is no single correct answer, but a number of possible useful answers.
And not to belabor this point, but I think it's fascinating that people, maybe because they're used to the search, that they are looking for a specific answer. That is not exactly what you can get from AI, as you were saying, but you can get perspective. And perspective is worth a lot. In fact, perspective is why they hire us, to think about things from different points of view. And that is what we hope to increase in people, is the ability to take into more things into account when they are making decisions, and bringing real facts into play as well.
Yeah, IA is a way that cannot live without it, because it's part of our life. And it's changed the way that you teach. You not continue to teach in the way that you did before. For example, if you ask a student to make an essay, they only ask the IA to do an essay, it can be beautiful. But a friend of mine did a very nice experiment. He took a paper that I wrote 1981, and with my friends, and sent to IA2 to check about the possibility that the paper was written by IA, and the result was 86% was written by IA. So my friend deducted, 20 years ago, or you discovered IA 20 years ago, it said nothing for nobody, or it's a fail. So must be careful. Must be careful. And I have a student now, a PhD student, he is preparing methodology, ERGO-IA. It's a methodology of ergonomics and artificial intelligence. So how to use artificial intelligence in ergonomics. For discuss some direct measure, direct evaluate is very useful. But when we have to decide about something reasonable and think to subjective, it still has some kind of problem. So, but I'm sure that's the kind of technology that can be without it in the future. It's just a question of years.
So for my idea, using the AI is the designer's partner. For example, the UX research, we have the thousands of the opening test feedback comments, and we can use the AI cluster and save our time. One more question, what does usability mean in 2025? Has it been changed?
Well, usability is really a catch-all for many things that have to go right for somebody to be successful at doing something. And it takes into account, of course, cognitive and physical and ergonomic and also memory-based problems that people have, but also the physical world and what you're interacting with. But more than that, the scenario of this problem you're trying to solve. Things have gotten very fancy, and the good news is that the technology is also fancy. So what I'm dreaming is that we can simplify things with the new technologies so that they are more usable. And usable has to also include learnable. So many people, when you get very good at a violin, it's very usable. Fantastic Stradivarius, but it takes dozens of years to learn. So we have to play with, the on-ramp has to be good if people have to learn it quickly, but not if they have to use it if they want it to be Stradivarius. So we have to think, What is the goal of usability? Is it proficiency? Is it at the expert level? Or is it getting to a simple proficiency? And those are always questions. And the tools we have today are beyond anything we've ever had to solve these problems. Sometimes even solve some of the problems that in combination, which was harder before, to make it learnable, but also get to a high level of proficiency.
The global design will be like in the next decade?
I hope we get it right. Whether we use AI or some evolution of some other technology or technique, I would like to see technology making our lives easier and better instead of creating more and more challenges for us. And I think one aspect we haven't talked about with regard to AI is the environmental impact right now. And that's something that I think a lot of smart people are thinking about, and I'm glad. But we do need to make sure that the whole thing is a net positive. And I see that happening, I do.
Well, we could talk about the environmental impact, and I have lots of ideas about how to make it. I think that will be resolved. But I think the question is that as everybody now is using the most amazing computers ever created, not just the experts, not just people designing rockets, we have challenges as well as opportunities. And so now we have maybe 1 million or 10 million or even 100 million people designing apps. And what we find is that people that are designing things don't maybe know all of the parts they need to know to make it usable. So it is evaluation as well as color choice, as well as spatial composition, as well as how many steps it takes and how many positions to take. And it is also taking into account that the memory and learning capability of somebody in their 70s should not make it so that they cannot be part of society. So we have to think about how to make these tools so that they are memory aids for people that need memory aids, and they are accelerating. They can allow people to go very quickly, that are young and able to not to be ageist. I'm just giving an example that there are differences in people's abilities, and these abilities, this universal design you were talking about, is critical as well. And most important is that the people that are building these things know to ask colleagues or borrow from other skill sets to test and take into account the abilities of humans and the abilities of them to learn and to use things as they're designing things.
In terms of the future, I think about sustainability. To have a big commitment of designer to produce products that cannot be wasted, cannot be can be responsible with the environment. In this week, we have a huge conference in Brazil. They call it 30. It's the biggest conference in the world about sustainability and the future of this planet. We have a lot of very important president, prime minister, and all over the world discussing the future of our planet. In Amazonia, Brazil, the future of our planet depends on us. And I think that the role of design is very important. Designer is very important in this context because you produce products to be used by people, and the product that can be used, or the product that be committed with the nature, with the planet, with the sustainable future. And not forget that the product must be used by human. It depends of the technology that you use, depends of the way that you develop. Behind of the product has a human person that might have his characters, interface, attendant in way to produce a good user experience.
I think that's the balance for personality use and the cover the wide world to use the different tools. And before we close, could you each of you share a short message for the collaborating with the World Usability Day?
sorry, the question is, say it again.
Say something for your experience for collaborate with the World Usability Day.
I have been a fan of World Usability Day since the very first one in 2004, and I think it's a great opportunity for us all to bring our profession to the public. You know, with these local events all over the world, think globally, act locally, being able to share this concept, especially now, right, when we're back to a time where developers are doing the designing, it's important, I think, to get this message out, and World Usability Day is an excellent way to make that happen.
So everybody thinks that they can solve a problem for themselves. And usability became a profession long ago. Many people caring about various aspects. But bringing it to the fore in the last few decades has become more important because it is manufactured and distributed so broadly, what we make. And I think this World Usability Day is a critical step towards making sure that people keep in mind the needs of designing things for usability in a professional way that will not negatively impact their users and make it difficult for them to struggle through their lives of banking or medical or whatever they're trying to do to solve their personal problems.
I think that the World Usability Day is very important to call the attention for this matter, for this usability. Usability is part of ergonomics, I always say that, and usability is an important factor of the good user experience, not the total for the good user experience, but most part of the user experience is related to usability. And the designer has a commitment to produce good usability product. I always have a conflict with my colleagues at the University of the Academy that design is not art. Art is one side, design is another side. And design is for people to use it. And if you use it, it must be good to use it, not produce something that's bad to use it. So I think that it's important to keep World Usability Day. I have a good friend, my friend Elizabeth Rosenstadt, who created it, and we were co-chair of Luxor, a design usability and user experience for some years during the ECI conference, and she continues to produce this, to have these activity during the conference, and they still need to have usability days around the world. We have in Brazil, we have in UK, USA, now in China. Very good to have here. And please, anything that you need to continue with the effort, I'm available.
So thank you all of you for sharing your insights and your experience. Your work inspires all of us to, in the UX and the design community, to think globally and act locally. Here is in Shanghai, the bridge for connect the West and the East. So we are reminded that design is not just about technology or aesthetics, about improving everyone for our life. We hope today's conversations sparks more innovation, and because the great design isn't universal, it's the contextual. And that's exactly where we sit here and talk the East and the West. Thank you.
And thank you, Fang, for making sure that World Usability Day was brought to this event here in Shanghai and for bringing us here to make it happen. Thank you.